Hello, welcome back to my channel and to another reaction video. This time we continue the Warhammer fantasy lore videos. This is Celestial Empire of Grand Cathay.
Across the greatest nations of what men call the Old World, the Empire of Man, Bretonnia, Kislev, Estalia, and Tilia, wander adventurers uncounted. They gather in isolated roadhouses or seedy urban taverns, and by the crackle of a fire, through the clinking of ale mugs, share tales of their exploits. Reichland River boatmen tell of the strange sights and perils of the waterways, which often pass through a wild country untouched by civilization. Nuln ratcatchers trade rumors over the strange chittering sounds heard in the deepest levels of the sewers, and the race of creatures supposedly responsible. Magraton Deerstros boast of their duels against assassins and pit fighters, while Bostonian Grail pilgrims flaunt the worn buttons and tattered banners retrieved from some fallen knight. The most accomplished among this motley sort might even describe to a captivated audience their journey into the forgotten halls of Karak Eight Peaks, or the corrupted lands beyond Troll Country. Some of them may even be telling the truth. Yet every now and then, a story will be told of a great journey across the blasted wastes that cover the Dark Lands and the ogre-infested mountains of Morn. Of audacious caravans weaving their way through the steppes of Hobgobbler Khan, or the drifting smoke of Tsar Nagrand. These dangers and many more besides are all braved for but a taste of the riches and wonders that lie in the distant east. Far beyond the reach of the old world, past the edge of any reputable map, is said to be a vast empire of jade cities and floating temples. An ancient land where mystics probe the movement of the heavens, and scholars inscribe every word uttered by their divine emperor. People from another world live here, a brotherhood of monks that can kill with a touch of the hand. Tribes of strange monkey warriors that dwell in the highest mountains. Immortal eunuch sorcerers that drink the souls of men. But above all, serpentine dragons on whose image the kingdom is founded.
Very
Such
cool.
stories are enough to ensure that though only one caravan in 10 returns,
And yeah, I did
and
get
few
that
still
it's
will ever reach the borders of the
inspired
kingdom
by
of the dragon,
Imperial
there is never a
China.
lack of volunteers. And while these tales might be dismissed as fanciful, the truth is that any
Floating
adventurer
temple.
who catches but a glimpse of the rich and distant Orient will not speak of half of what they've seen, for they know they will not be believed if they were to tell of what truly lies in Grand Cathay. The most enduring myth concerning this mysterious, distant nation is that its lands are ruled across successive dynasties by Eastern despots, the most powerful of which commands the title of Dragon Emperor. Like most rumors of Grand Cathay that reach the scholars of the Old World, this is a distortion of the truth. In reality, Cathay is an empire in every sense of the word, one whose government is structured around a hereditary monarchy. But where most other human nations are ruled by one selected from among their own number, typically by the virtue of divine right, Cathay's emperor and highest nobility are not human at all. Dragons are well known to be an especially diverse race that display enormous variations in their appearance and abilities. Even amongst their brethren, however, Cathayan dragons are entirely unique. They are serpentine and wingless, and most extraordinarily,
I mean, that's usually how dragons are
form.
described in
There is but
Eastern
one dynasty in Grand
cultures.
Cathay, and
Or
the emperor that
serpentine,
rules
while
today
Western
is the same
dragons
one who
are,
founded the nation in the
you
distant
know, fire
past.
breathing, destructive and all that.
Zhen Yang, the Dragon Emperor, and his consort Kuai Yin, the Moon Empress, may be the oldest beings in the known world. Immortal dragons which predate many of the gods and the Old Ones themselves. How and why these immensely powerful beings have chosen to rule over a human nation is likely beyond mortal comprehension, but they have guided and molded Cathay as benevolent rulers for all its history. In recent times, however, the attention of the Emperor and Empress have been consumed by other matters, and the administration of Grand Cathay has been left to their offspring. Grand Cathay is divided into numerous provinces, territorial and administrative divisions typically centered around major cities, market towns, coastal ports, or prominent geographic features. Individual provinces possess very limited autonomy and are instead grouped together into 5 larger regions. Each of these regions is ruled by one of the Dragon Emperor's children, who act as regional lords. While no formal hierarchy exists among these dragon siblings, rule of the northern provinces is generally seen as the most prestigious. This honor has been granted to Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon, an eldest child of the imperial family.
Cool.
The northern provinces are neither particularly wealthy or fertile, beset by water scarcity and long, harsh winters. Instead, it is the Great Bastion that grants the region immense strategic importance. A huge and ancient fortification constructed under the oversight of the Dragon Emperor himself, the Great Bastion forms the outer perimeter of Cathay's northern border. It is an indispensable defense, without which the hordes of the Hobgoblin Khanate, Northern Marauders, and even the forces of Chaos would be able to ravage the heart of the nation. Dozens of enormous fortresses and gates span the breadth of the bastion, all supplied from the enormous forges
Warhammer Fantasy version of
the regional capital of the northern provinces.
Great Wall protecting against the
Yuan Bo, the Jade
Mongolians,
Dragon,
the
is the lord of the
Huns and
central
whatnot.
provinces and the administrator of the realm. This region is the heartland of Grand Cathay, and its provinces are crisscrossed by broad rivers, which in turn provide exceptionally fertile farmland. Cathay is said to be a nation of farmers, and Cathayan expertise in agriculture was developed here. Ingenious crop rotations, sophisticated water-raising devices, together with the rationality and industry of the Cathayan peasant farmer, has helped sustain and
I really want to watch some
population
documentaries and
in the
movies
known
about
world.
the Imperial China
Harvested crops are then
periods.
transported along the many rivers which serve as highways. The trading hub of Shangwu sits at the confluence of many such rivers, and is the capital and largest city within the central provinces. The eastern provinces are ruled by Yin, the Sea Dragon, and the Admiral of the Grand Dragon Fleet. It is a coastal region bounded by the Far Sea, which serves as the easternmost extent of Grand Cathay as a whole. Its provinces are the wealthiest in the empire due to the vast amount of trade that flows downriver into its many cities and ports. The contents of a single boat laden with exotic goods can be sold in the Old World for a price that will fund the entire expedition to the east, and make all those involved exceedingly wealthy in their own distant kingdoms. The eastern provinces, therefore, and in particular the largest port of Fuchao, are home to the largest population of foreigners, especially High Elves. The benefits of foreign trade have made both Yin and the provinces he rules unusually cosmopolitan and expansionist. The southern provinces of Cathay remain a wilderness of deep forests and mountain foothills. While famous for its many temples and dedicated monks, historically it has been economically depressed and considered a backwater region. This is in part due to the frequency of foreign invasions that have attempted to cross over the Mountains of Heaven, an imposing mountain range that forms the empire's southern border. Both Grand Cathay and the neighboring kingdoms of Ind have laid claim to the range, but the true power in the mountains is the mysterious Monkey King. Li Dao, the Fire Dragon and Master of the Burning Winds, rules the southern provinces. His position is sometimes seen as thankless within the greater empire, forced to defend this frontier from the Tiger Warriors of Ind and the Nagas of Koresh, without any of the glory and honor afforded to his northern siblings. The western provinces are another frontier region, marked by the corruption of a vast arid warpstone desert. The mutations this substance of chaos inflicts on mortal beings has made the settlement of much of the region impossible, save for a few desert clans. Despite this, bustling trade hubs exist in the western provinces, the largest of which is Shangyang. It is from here that the perilous Ivory Road extends all the way to the Old World, bringing the foreign wealth of the West into Grand Cathay. The city has also become a refuge for unsanctioned sorcerers, thanks to the leniency of the ruler of the West provinces, Xiao Ming, the Iron Dragon, and himself a powerful alchemist. Under his oversight, powerful sorceress cabals have gained immense influence in the western provinces, undertaking dangerous expeditions into the Warpstone Desert. Few return, but those that do are laden with strange ores and minerals, through which magical weapons are forged. Located within the northern provinces is a special autonomous region, which contains the nation's capital of Weijin. This is the seat of power of the Dragon Emperor.
I wonder if the ruinous powers and others like that have ever tried to invade. I mean, they mentioned the Hobgoblin Khanate, but that's
the River
it.
of Souls, said to allow passage to the underworld.
River of
Yet
Souls.
its greatest treasure might be the Wujing Compass, a device able to direct the flow of the winds of magic, across all of Grand Cathay. Within each region of Cathay, the dragon siblings are subservient only to the Emperor and Empress. Though they rule with absolute authority over their respective provinces, they rely on a special elite of human scholar officials to handle routine administrative tasks. While relatively rare, some among their number are the progeny of the dragon siblings, and known
like
as
the
the
armor.
dragon-blooded.
Cool design.
They often rise to
she
positions of
has a-
power due to respect for their heritage, but also
Okay, the
for their
mask
innate
is,
talents in warfare, sorcery,
Honestly.
and governance. The remainder are simply those among the native Cathayan population who have displayed an aptitude for the tools of statecraft, calligraphy, history, literature, diplomacy, and war. Chief among their number will be the Lord's Magistrate, selected by careful government inspection to command armies or rule cities. Most of the dragon siblings rule over their mortal subjects from a distance, rarely interacting with any outside their closest confidants. This detached relationship has the potential to foster a reverence or even religion amongst the Cathayans towards their immortal lords. Both the Dragon Emperor and Moon Empress, however, and by extension their offspring, possess a natural animosity towards the gods, and disdain being counted among them. The dragons are revered as great leaders, worthy of obedience and adoration, but their worship is strongly discouraged. Instead, spirituality within Grand Cathay is not reliant on a pantheon of gods, but centered on a unique philosophical concept known as yin and yang. At its core, this is an interpretation of the winds of magic, but one that describes how seemingly opposite or opposing forces may actually be complementary, interconnected, and interdependent within the natural world. Within Cathayan cosmology, everything within the physical universe is organized into cycles of yin and yang. The Emperor and Empress, human beings, the works and structures they create, even natural dualities such as light and dark, fire and water, expanding and contracting, are all thought of as physical manifestations of yin and yang. The actions of both individuals and the nation as a whole are seen as expressions of this duality, and keeping both yin and yang in harmony is Cathay's most overriding spiritual endeavor. This concept of harmony is the driving force behind Cathayan spirituality, the method through which all might find their natural place and achieve the betterment of themselves and the land. The perfection of harmony across Grand Cathay is often as much the work of its armies as it is its scholars or monks. Many neighboring races and rival nations are destructive by nature, while the ever-looming ruinous powers of chaos are entirely antithetical to the concept of harmony itself. The core of Grand Cathay's armies are the Jade Warriors, professional soldiers which form its standing army. They are expertly trained in the use of swords, shields, halberds, and when on horseback, lances.
Yeah,
Those
very
showing
well
predilection
trained.
towards marksmanship are organized into crossbow units, the favored ranged weapon within Cathayan armies. The expense of maintaining such regiments is beyond that of all but the largest cities, and few will ever be found in smaller towns or provinces. In poorer areas or during times of elevated urgency, the Jade Warriors will be supplemented or be absent entirely in favor of peasant conscripts. Though many farmers, hunters, or miners might train with spears or bows as a pastime, or even be expert
It's always
riders,
cool seeing this
it is
kind of
usually their
cinematic
sheer
just
numbers
armies
that are the
marching.
deciding factor in battle. In the most
Well,
critical
War is a
situations,
fun
regiments
game
of the
series.
Celestial Dragon Guard, the Legion of the Emperor himself, might be dispatched to join local armies. These elite soldiers are of deep symbolic importance to the morale of an army, for they represent a direct connection to the Dragon Emperor. Gunpowder is also highly associated with Cathayan armies, and it was Imperial alchemists who likely first developed the substance for human use. Crane gunners utilize a specially developed long-barreled rifle, difficult to use proficiently, but lethal at extraordinary range once it has been mastered. Artillery pieces are also regularly in use, with both conventional cannons as well as exotic firecards.
I love the design of the
capable launching
cannons, having
dozens of
the
explosive, rocket-powered
dragon
arrows.
head that spits fire, basically.
An army of Grand Cathay's ancient protectors, known as the Terracotta Sentinels, are also scattered across its many provinces. Tales of their creation vary wildly, but all were said
I'm
to have
always
been birthed by the
fascinated when
Emperor and used to shatter
about
the power of chaos
the
during the Empire's
terracotta
earliest
soldiers
years.
in ancient
Today,
China
they
and
stand
the
resolute
tombs
over
and
paddy
whatnot.
fields or are half submerged within rivers. They might guard lonely roadways or even act as stanchions in the Great Bastion itself. But no matter how inert they may appear, each will burn with glowing light and move with terrible purpose if summoned to a nearby threat. Perhaps the most unusual element of the Celestial Army, however, is the Sky Fleet. Through the use of carefully controlled fires, enormous balloons can be made to levitate in the air, beneath which are suspended various kinds of platforms and weaponry. Sky lanterns are the most common and serve a dual role on the battlefield. They are often crewed by signalmen, magistrates, or other commanders, so they might direct the troops below using a complex system of fans, flags, and smoke. Others serve as vantage points for crane gunners, firing from a special armoured carriage. Larger variants are known as sky junks and in many ways resemble the maritime warships of the Dragon Fleet. They can be made to hold rocket arrows, bombs, or other forms of artillery. The Sky Fleet is a powerful asset, but ultimately slow-moving and largely reactive. The military doctrine of Grand Cathay is based on its immense manpower. While it possesses many formidable weapons, their limited supply across its frontier means that the defense of the Empire will often fall upon the use of mass conscript armies. While unquestionably wise and beneficent leaders, the immortal Dragon Emperor and his children place little value on individual short-lived human lives when compared to the greater welfare of the state. Even so, Cathayan armies are usually defensive, preferring to maintain the effectiveness of the Great Bastion and other borders, rather than pursuing wars of conquest or even preemptive strikes. In the face of evolving threats, however, this prevailing dogma is increasingly questioned by both mortal commanders and the dragons themselves. Indeed, it was aggressive military action that initially formed the Empire. While the exact details of how the Dragon Emperor united the many tribes and peoples of Cathay have been lost to legend and entropy, he was unquestionably forced to contend with both rival warlords and the followers of the ruinous powers. The raising of the Great Bastion is generally seen to herald the true founding of the nation, though it took nearly a century to complete, and few who witnessed the first
No, I mean,
blockade
makes
live
sense.
long
It
enough
would
to see
take
it
a long time
completed.
to construct something like that. The
Generally
Great Wall,
isolationist, with but a scattered few
how long
motivated
did it take to
excursions into
fully
the
complete
outside
that?
world, the history of Cathay is largely driven by the state of the Great Bastion, or by foreign invasions across other frontiers. Both natural disasters and enemy armies have at times succeeded in breaching the Great Bastion, and great hordes of human barbarians, orc warbands, and ogre tribes have all rampaged across the heart of the nation, before eventually being driven back. Its greatest crisis emerged from a combination of such threats. Several centuries after he founded the nation, the Dragon Emperor, together with the Moon Empress, disappeared, and Grand Cathay fractured in their absence. The natural competition between the Emperor's children escalated into open war, and the provinces turned into warring states. Unable to defend the nation's borders, a great chaos host breached the bastion in the north, while the Monkey King seized power in the capital itself and claimed dominion over the empire.
Holy shit.
Such an act was enough to shock the warring siblings into laying aside their
Yeah, I think the
differences
Monkey
and
King
uniting to
is
retake
supposed to
their
be
father's throne.
pretty darn OP
At the
in...
critical moment in this campaign, the Emperor
yeah.
and Empress returned, and the Monkey King was driven back to the mountains of
Okay,
heaven.
so here he's not as OP.
Representatives from the elven Phoenix King of distant Ulthuan were the first foreigners to open trade with Cathay, though the process was long and sometimes
Phoenix
costly.
King, huh?
As rumors of the Empire's wealth spread, its coasts were beset by Drukai corsairs, with thousands of Cathayan citizens taken aboard their black arks as slaves. Such incidents only furthered the Empire's distrust of outsiders, and future expeditions would receive notably cooler receptions. The famous Tilian explorer Marco Polo is widely credited with giving the human nations of the Old World
Marco
their
Polo.
first descriptions of the Eastern world. Though he may not have been the first human to travel to Cathay and return, his recordings greatly elucidated the mysterious culture and inner workings of Cathay in a way that have never before been accomplished. Centuries later, Tilian merchants Rico and Robbio made the journey through what would become the Ivory Road.
On the one hand, this is very awesome to listen to this, but on the other hand,
or more likely,
they weren't really
children.
innovative when they
While
created
contact
the
between the Western
Cathay.
and Eastern worlds is still sporadic, and the paths between them beset by many perils. Both the Empire of Sigmar Heldenhammer and the Empire of the Celestial Dragon possess a growing awareness of one another's presence. Though they differ in many aspects, each recognizes the value of the other in the Great War against Chaos, and works with renewed determination to forge a lasting route that might connect them. For within Grand Cathay, even the most ardent isolationist has begun to recognize that the northern horizon is growing darker. The ruinous powers are amassing outside the Great Bastion, inciting despair and rebellion within. Whatever machinations have seized the attention of the Dragon Emperor,
Yeah, I think I've reacted to
and who can say
game trailer where they did
to a being
introduce Cathay.
Emperor,
I just didn't remember until I saw that
the
clip.
greatest crisis, or perhaps the greatest opportunity, one that rides a dangerous wind.
That is an epic shot. Well, there you have it, folks. The Celestial Empire of Grand Cathay, and yeah, I should have guessed from the dragon and the music that it was gonna be inspired by Chinese mythology, and boy was it ever. You have the dragons, Monkey King, and all that. I know of Chinese mythology, but I'm no way anyway expert and will never claim to be. But yeah, I did recognize a whole great deal, and they've even pulled what was it, Marco Polare? That's from that's clearly inspired by Marco Polo, who traveled in Eastern in Asia and whatnot. But yeah, kind of found it funny that I guess they had the Great Bastion to protect from the Hobgoblin Khanate. I need to. Hopefully, there's a video on Hobgoblins. Is there what's their version of Genghis Khan? But yeah, and yeah, the Grand Cathay is it's the vast empire to the east. I mean, and a lot of fantasy work usually. A lot of Western fantasy worlds usually have that. They focus on Western cultures and whatnot, but then they do have this version of Eastern empires that are usually very mysterious. Just recently, George R.R. Martin has created his version of what's it called? I don't know, but if you look at the world map of where Game of Thrones takes place, there was some Jade Emperor, something like that. I can't remember its name. But anyway, it's pretty common that, Chinese mythology and other Asian cultures, they have a rich, fascinating, mysterious mythology that Westerners usually admire. So, not surprising that they borrow stuff from it to this degree. Though I don't know exactly. Warhammer, who exactly is working there, whose idea was it? So, for all we know, they have hired Asian folk to as consultants and whatnot. But yeah, and yeah, I did recognize that one clip. There was a battle going on. At that point, I remember I did at some point react to a game trailer where they showed the Grand Cathay, and yeah, Warhammer game trailers, the cinematics are always very entertaining, and yeah, right now they're planning to do a live action show on the Warhammer 40k, but yeah, Warhammer Fantasy would be another, if not live action, then an animation. Warhammer 40k already has a bunch of animated series, so. But yeah, this this was very fascinating. What do you guys think? Write your thoughts down below. Hope you enjoyed my reaction. Comment, like, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in another video.